Welcome to the Career Success Secret Show. I am your host, Mike Tomasello, and I am here to let you know that everything that you know about New Year's resolutions is wrong. Okay, I don't actually know whether all of you are doing New Year's resolutions wrong or not. I don't. But from the vast majority of the people that I talk to and observing things on the internet, I can tell you that most people are fed up with New Year's resolutions because a lot of what they're doing is wrong. And so New Year's resolutions, what I am seeing in the marketplace, what I'm seeing around the world is most people are viewing New Year's resolutions as sort of a nice to have. And anytime you have something that's a nice to have, you're not necessarily committed to it. You don't necessarily have a plan for it. You're not necessarily taking action on it. And so what's happened over the past 20 years or so is most people have given up on the concept of even setting New Year's resolutions because they're so fed up with setting a goal for themselves and then it's sort of flustering or just not happening, which is totally understandable. However, if we can get back to what the true meaning of resolution means, what the true meaning of New Year's resolutions means, it might be a much more effective tool for you. Now, I have good news. Even if you're not listening to this in January or December, even if you have no intention of setting any New Year's resolutions, I do think you're going to get something out of this episode because we are going to be talking about some things that can help you achieve your goals more effectively. So let's get into it. The first thing I want to talk about is the importance of actually setting a resolution. Resolution comes from the word resolute. And whether you're talking about resolute or whether you're talking about resolution, it means I resolve that this is going to happen. I am committed to this happening. Feel the energy of that statement. That is an unwavering commitment to have something happen. So that's where the word resolution comes from. But how many of us in talking with other people that have set resolutions over the years are actually looking at it as an unwavering commitment to yourself? My guess is probably not too many. Otherwise, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Otherwise, resolutions would be a lot more popular. Now, what I will say, even if you have not decided on any New Year's resolutions for the year, these can be goals. If you don't want to call them resolutions, that's totally fine. But a lot of these concepts are still going to apply. If you don't have an unwavering desire to see this happen, it's a lot less likely to happen. Anytime we are shooting for something in life or business or career that we've never done before, it's going to require us to change. And change for most people, I know change used to be friggin' hard for me. It probably still is. In order to change, we need to become something different than what we have been in the past. And so any big goal requires us to make some change on some level. At a minimum, it's going to require us to do some new actions or to do actions at a level that we've never done before in order for that to happen. Now, anytime we're talking about commitment, anytime we're talking about really resolving to do something, I think back to one of my favorite movies, The Empire Strikes Back, for you Star Wars fans out there. And Yoda, the wise 800-plus-year-old Jedi Master, is talking to Luke, and Luke's talking about, I'm trying my best. He's pretty much whining about it. And Yoda just looks at him very gravely and calmly and says, do or do not. There is no try. Do or do not. There is no try. So not to say that things are going to come the first time we do them, not to say that as we learn and become better, that we can't make things easier on ourselves, but we can either make a commitment to doing something or we don't. So love that quote. Hopefully it resonated even with those of you that aren't Star Wars fans. So once that commitment is there, once that burning desire is there that you want this change, whether it's losing weight for yourself, whether it's getting a promotion, whether it's getting a salary raise, whether it's landing a new job. The thing that I find most people are missing is some sort of system of organization. Some sort of system of organization. And so what I would encourage you to do, and that what I've seen from some of the most successful people that I know, is to have a weekly goal system or a weekly tracking system. And so I'm going to recommend that you set weekly goals around whatever projects you have in life so that you're continually looking at the things you want to accomplish in the world, the things you want to accomplish in your life, and you have actionable steps that you can take to move for it. A lot of us set goals and we put them aside, and sometimes we forget to look at them ever again. Or we look at them once a week, or we look at them once a month. Well, what if we looked at them regularly, at least once a week, and then more importantly, set sub-goals? And when I say goal, when I'm talking about this level of goals on a weekly or daily basis, I'm primarily talking about action goals, habit goals, or time-based goals. And so some of you have a long-standing goal or a recent goal to land a new job. How many of you have goals around number of applications that you're going to submit per week? How many of you have goals around how many hours per week are you going to spend on your job search? How many of you have goals around how many hours per week that you're going to spend on outreach? And for those not familiar with the word outreach, I mean reaching out to a human being. Could be an email, could be a DM, could be a phone call, could be a text, and outreaching specifically for the purpose of either applying for a job or networking. And I would argue that an effective job search probably has both of those. Having a number of people that you're going to reconnect with from your network and say hello to, or reach out to schedule an advice conversation. The other weekly goal I highly recommend, if you're unsure of the specific action that you want to take, or you're afraid of what you need to focus on changing throughout the week, then specifically setting an amount of time in terms of how much time are you going to spend on your job search this week. If you traditionally struggle to spend 30 minutes on your job search in a week, then you're going to want to start small and increase that to an hour or two, especially if you're a busy parent or have a full-time job on the side. So that time amount is going to be a little bit more specific to you. Now, for those of you that are unemployed or underemployed, you want to say to yourself, well, hey, if I was employed, in most countries around the world, I would be working at least 40 hours a week if I was to get a full-time job. And so are you setting a goal to at least work up to spending 40 hours a week or whatnot on your job search? Now, I'm not here to belittle you if you think 40 hours a week is unrealistic or healthy or whatever. I'm just giving you a guideline and a suggestion in terms of what you might want to aspire to according to traditional work week norms. So if the amount for you ends up being less than that, that's totally fine. But it stands to reason, the more time you spend on any given activity, the more time you have to take action, the more actions you take, the greater the chance that you're able to achieve a result, especially if you're doing the same action over and over again. So time spent is a great thing if you're unsure about what the best actions or what the best habits are for you. So, and your weekly goals don't have to be just around career. Your weekly goals don't have to just be around job search. You can have weekly goals around your children. You can have weekly goals around your significant other. You can and probably should have weekly goals around your health. And you want to dial it down to something that's really manageable to you in terms of what are the things that have the greatest impact that are most likely to move you towards those goals that you set for yourself. So using the job search example, for job search, my clients and even my non-clients, the people that tend to spend the most time on their job search tend to get hired and tend to get multiple job offers more frequently and sooner. Also, from all of those people I mentioned, the people that tend to reach out to human beings and not just apply online tend to get hired faster. And so if that is the case, then you want to be setting goals around those things that are most likely to get you there. If you're focusing on health goals and you're not working out or eating right, then you're going to set habit goals around a certain number of times per week that you're going to do a certain action, whether it's going for a jog, whether it's going weightlifting, whether it's eating healthy. So there's a lot of different ways to break it down. So I'm really curious. I'd love to hear from some of you. What are those weekly goals that you think you need to be setting for yourself? Or if you've been doing this for a while, what are some of your weekly goals, especially when it comes to a career or a job search? I think it'll be helpful to a lot of the other listeners out there. I'd love to see you share it. I think you find that the more that you get in the habit of doing this every week, the more accountable you will start to be for yourself. And I think back to something that one of my mentors taught me. His name's Davey Tibierski. He used to be a chief operating officer for a $1 billion corporation before he decided to go off on his own. And he always used to tell me, the amount of stress you feel is in direct correlation to the lack of systems you have. The amount of stress you feel is in direct correlation to the amount of stress you have. So if you're not achieving your goals, particularly if it's really stressful for you, you probably don't have a system of reminders in place. You probably don't have a system remind you of your goals, the actions you need to take, double checking to whether or not you actually achieve them or not. And so I don't know what that looks like for you. So it could be using your Google Calendar or your Microsoft Outlook more effectively. For you, that could be using the reminder systems. For me, I have an app on my phone called Habits where I track all of my goals for the week. I also have a daily and weekly planner, a paper one. And even though most people, it can be challenging to use both, I find it very helpful to use both from a calendar perspective and then being able to write out my thoughts and look at my thoughts over multiple pieces of paper. Curious to hear what systems you're using. Please share that feedback. So let's wrap all of this up in a bow so you can go out there and start taking action on your goals. All you need to do to start is you need to pick a day on your weekly calendar when you think you're going to be able to review and plan for your week. For most people, that's usually going to be a Friday afternoon or evening, a Sunday, or a Monday morning. Yours can be different, but whenever the end or beginning of your week traditionally happens is the best time to do it. And you're going to spend not a lot of time, 5-7 minutes looking back in terms of how you did on the previous week, how you did with your goals on the previous week. And you're going to ask yourself, what can I do even better for the next week? What can I do even better for the next week? Let's keep it simple. Then you're going to evaluate what are your new goals for the week and what goals or habits are going to carry over. And so I often use goals and habits interchangeably because I do believe the majority of the things that are going to get you to where you want to go, they're going to need to be habits at least temporarily. So if you're not doing something on a daily basis or a multiple time a week basis, you're sending a message to your nervous system that that goal is not particularly that important to you. So even if it's something small, even if it's something that you can just do in 30 seconds or 60 seconds, try to think around each of your big goals or big areas of life that are important to you. What's something that you can potentially be doing daily? So you're going to schedule this weekly event into your calendar so that it's recurring, same day, same time every week. You can always move it. However, if you move it, you got to move it. You can't just delete it. You can't just ignore it. This is just like going to a doctor's appointment. This is just like a date with your significant other. Man, don't cancel it unless you absolutely have to. And by all means, you have to make it up. So you do that. And starting out, I would recommend you start with your goals a little bit on the smaller side, but you know yourself better than I do. You know how many goals you have better than I do. And really focus on what are 1 to 3 goals in each area of your life or around each major goal that you have that you need to be working on weekly or daily, and putting that on a list where you're going to track it either in some electronic system or some paper system. So I'd love to hear how that goes for you. I'm going to end things here because I wanted to keep it simple for you next week. If you are considering a job search, if you are considering a career change in 2025, you are absolutely going to want to listen to next week's episode where we have Lawrence Lockhart coming in. Lawrence changed his career at the ripe age of 46. It's going to be a phenomenal episode. Looking forward to hearing from you, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks. I'm Mike Tomasello with the Career Success Secret Show.